Hello, welcome to Danputer. We are very excited today. We are going to be overclocking the i9 9900K. Are you happy? It's very exciting. My nipples are hard and we are ready to go. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is go into the BIOS, yeah? So hit your F2 or F12 key to get into the BIOS, okay? And then when you're in there, sometimes you might be in the easy mode. So we don't want easy mode. No, we don't like it. So you want to get out of easy mode if you're in there. And I believe it is F2 key. So hit the F2 key, go to the advanced mode. Okay, so we'll cut the accent. It's Dan from Danputer. Welcome again. Alright guys, here's your guide to overclocking on a gigabyte BIOS, overclocking the CPU. So, like I said, if you are in the easy mode, you want to hit F2, go to the advanced mode. And where we're going to start is this MIT section at the top. And we want to first go to advanced memory settings if you have the higher speed memory, because in there, you're going to want to set your extreme memory profile to profile 1. Now, don't do anything further, because if you're going to try and overclock your memory further, you want to do things one at a time. You don't want to overclock the memory and the CPU at the same time, because then if your system crashes, you don't know what's causing the problem, memory or CPU. But you're pretty safe going to profile 1 right off the bat, because the manufacturer has guaranteed that the memory will work. That automatically sets all the timings for you. So enable your extreme memory profile, double click on that or click on it. You can do page up, page down to change things and set it at profile 1. Now, after you're done with that, you can hit escape and go back. And the next thing we're going to do is go into advanced frequency settings. And that's going to take us here, and I've circled what we need to change. So first, the enhanced multi-core performance you can disable. That's kind of an automatic overclocking option, but we're going to be doing this manually because a lot of times with the automatic overclocks, it sets the voltage too high, and it's better to do things manually, even if it is a little bit more tedious. So we disable that and then set your CPU clock ratio to whatever overclock you want. Again, you can just click on that and type in a number and press enter. And we set ours to 49. That will give us 4.9 gigahertz on our i9 9900K. You can go higher. A lot of people want 5 gigahertz. You would type in 50 and press enter. So any overclock from 48 to 5.2 I've seen done. You can try whatever you want. So that's what I have. Okay, when you're done with that, you need to go down here to Advanced CPU Core Settings and double click on that. Once you're in there, one thing you can do is change the uncore ratio. This will boost performance a little bit, and it's good to keep it 200 to 300 megahertz below your CPU core clock. So normal is 43, but we're setting ours to 46, giving us 4.66 gigahertz on our uncore, which is 300 megahertz below our CPU core clock. So 200 or 300 megahertz below for the uncore is usually safe and works. Okay, then same page, just scroll down until you get to these options, and everything in the boxes here you should disable. And why disable it? Well, this can affect the stability of your overclock if these things are enabled. So I'm just following Gigabyte's guide on this. This is what Gigabyte recommends to disable. So disable all of those, and then you can escape, go back, and go to your advanced voltage settings. Now in here, the first thing we're going to change is the CPU core voltage. So click on that, and that'll take you here, and I've circled what you need to change, which is the CPU V core. That's all you need to change in here, and I set mine to 1.29. Now, be careful here. I once fried a CPU by putting in a number that was too high. I think I typed in 1.9 volts. And safe is anywhere from 1.25 to 1.4, they say, is safe for 24/7 use. So I wouldn't recommend going over 1.4 unless you're an extreme overclocker and know what you're doing. So for the 4.9 gigahertz, you could probably start at like 1.27 volts and then see if the CPU is stable. So what you would do is try and start low. Start at 1.27, and then you're going to have to test by loading up your CPU and, running it on full load for at least a half an hour. If it crashes, you'll get a Windows blue screen. You have to shut down, go back in the BIOS, and incrementally increase that voltage until you get a stable overclock, until your CPU can run at 100% full load for a long period of time without crashing. So anyway, we have ours at 1.29, and then you're going to go back and go to Advanced Power Settings. In here, what we're going to do is set our CPU V-Core load line calibration to turbo. This is what Gigabyte recommends. You can go higher on this. If you go higher, basically it's going to give you more voltage than you need, or it's going to increase the voltage beyond 1.29. So basically this load line calibration is going to try and keep the voltage high enough to where voltage doesn't sag, and turbo is recommended. All right, and then the other thing Gigabyte recommends, and this you don't really have to do, but it was in the Gigabyte guide, is go to the chipset at the top, click on that at the top, and then your VTD, that's virtualization, they recommend to disable, unless, of course, you're doing virtualization on your PC. If you're running virtual machines, you'll want to keep that enabled. Okay, and then finally, you can go to Save and Exit at the top. And so once you've saved and exited, then basically you're going to have to, your computer's going to start, and then you're going to have to run a test to see if your CPU is stable. And we'll be right back with that. All right, so we are back in action, and we are going to check this overclock. We got it to 4.9, and how I like to test is chess programs. These things will chew up, they will chew up and spit out a CPU. Some people like to use W Prime or other programs, but I like to load up a couple chess engines and test it that way, and I found that's very reliable. So we're going to load up, we're going to add a kibitzer here. We'll start with Stockfish, and we'll go with Advanced, and we want engine parameters. Yeah, we want that using 8 threads. We have 16 threads total. So this is going to be using 8 threads. Okay. Smart CPU usage should use 8 threads. So we will load that up and make sure it's using 8 CPUs. And then we'll load up another one, add another kibitzer. Okay, and that one is going to also use 8 CPUs. So if we take a look here, we are at 100% load, 4.9 gigahertz. So what we have to do is let that run and see where temperatures go and make sure it doesn't crash, but, it could crash. So we'll have to see. Let me expand this for the moment. And 1.28 volts, maximum 1.31. We're in our voltage range, I would say, and we're going to monitor temps. So if you want to skip ahead in the video, go ahead. I'm going to probably speed up a lot of this video because you just kind of have to wait. All right, so we're actually doing pretty good. We're over 10 minutes, and our temps are doing great. Mid-70s. I recommend not going over mid-80s. TJ Max on this thing is like 100, so 100 degrees is what Intel rates it at. It's good up to 100. And in fact, in the BIOS, you can actually increase the TJ Max to an even higher amount. So Intel really thinks this CPU is capable of sustaining or operating at high temperatures. But I would say I want to try and keep it under 80, mid-80s maximum. And you see we're at 76 right now. We are cruising. This CPU is cool as a bug in a rug, my friends. So that's really promising. Now we're at 12 minutes into the test. We want to run it for at least 10 more minutes to make sure it doesn't crash at some point. If it crashes, that means our voltage is too low. All we need to do is bump it up a little. But right now, we are sitting pretty. Highest temp on any of the cores is 84. Very pleased with that. Our 4.9 seems good. So we'll keep an eye on it longer. All right, so we're nearing that finish line. 30 minutes of this torture test should mean our CPU is stable as a Mabel. What is a Mabel? I don't know. But anyway, what I'm talking about is the CPU is stable, highest temp 84, not bad. And mostly we're sticking around low 80s or under. So I would say that's perfectly acceptable. Now, I could go and try and lower the voltage and see if it runs at a lower voltage. Could do that. But I'm going to go ahead and keep it at 4.9 at this voltage. It just depends on how much you want to try and tweak it. I could try and go up to 5 gigahertz at the same voltage and see if that works. The more time and energy you spend in overclocking, the possibly better results you'll get. But basically, you want to torture test your CPU 100% load for at least 30 minutes after you overclock. And make sure temps are under 90 at least. Otherwise, you're going to have some heat problems. So, that concludes our torture test. We are at 4.9 gigahertz on the i9 9900K.